Let me tell you something before we even get started. This is not Steve Harvey standing in front of you. But the message, the energy, the truth behind these words, that's real. Because today I want to talk to you about something that quietly controls your entire life, something more powerful than money, talent, or even opportunity. It's your attitude. See, you don't rise in life because of what you have. You rise because of how you think. And the truth is simple, your attitude determines your altitude. A lot of people are praying for a better life, but they're walking around with a broken mindset. You can't talk negative and expect positive results. You can't wake up complaining and wonder why nothing is changing. Life doesn't respond to your wishes. It responds to your attitude. Two people can face the same storm. One grows stronger. The other gives up. The difference isn't the storm. It's the attitude they carry through it. See, your attitude is the lens through which you see the world. If that lens is cloudy with doubt, fear, and excuses, everything in your life will look small, limited, and impossible. But when your attitude is disciplined, grateful, and hungry, even problems start looking like opportunities. That's when doors open. That's when ideas come alive. That's when people start noticing something different about you, because confidence has a sound and belief has a presence. Let me be real with you. Life is not fair. It never was, and it never will be. You're going to be disappointed. You're going to be rejected. You're going to fail. But none of that determines how high you go. What determines your altitude is how you respond. Do you quit or do you adjust? Do you complain or do you learn? Do you let the moment break you or do you let it build you? Winners don't have easier lives. They have stronger attitudes. Some of you are one decision away from a completely different future, but your attitude is holding you hostage. You keep saying, I'll try, instead of I will. You keep waiting for motivation instead of choosing discipline. You keep blaming the past instead of building the future. Listen to me. Your past may explain you, but it does not define you. The moment you change your attitude, you change your direction. And here's the part people don't like to hear. Nobody is coming to save you. That's not bad news. That's powerful news, because it means your life is in your hands. When you wake up every morning and decide to show up with purpose, with gratitude, with faith, you start climbing, slowly at first, quietly, but consistently. And one day, people will ask how you made it, not realizing it all started with a shift in attitude. Most people spend their entire lives trying to improve their circumstances without ever realizing that the real engine of their success is already inside them. Your attitude is that engine. Before talent is noticed, before opportunities show up, before doors even begin to open, your attitude is already speaking on your behalf. It speaks in the way you walk into a room, in how you handle pressure, and in how you respond when things don't go your way. Two people can have the same skills, the same background, and the same chances, yet one rises while the other stays stuck. The difference is not luck, and it's not intelligence. It's attitude. The way you think determines the energy you carry, and the energy you carry determines how far you go. Here's a truth that many people avoid. Talent without the right attitude is wasted potential. You can be gifted and still fail. You can be smart and still fall behind, because talent may get you noticed once, but attitude decides if you're invited back. The world rewards consistency, resilience, and hunger far more than raw ability. When your attitude is strong, you don't wait to be motivated. You don't need applause to perform. You show up ready even when nobody is watching. That kind of mindset builds trust, and trust is what creates elevation in life. Your attitude is also what determines how you handle resistance. And make no mistake, resistance is guaranteed. Pressure will come. Disappointment will knock. Failure will visit. But attitude decides whether those moments turn into excuses or lessons. People with weak attitudes see obstacles as signs to stop. People with strong attitudes see obstacles as proof they're moving forward. Every challenge asks you a question: are you committed or are you comfortable? Your answer is revealed by your attitude, not your words. What most people don't realize is that attitude is a daily decision. You don't wake up with it automatically. You choose it. You choose how you interpret your situation. You choose whether setbacks make you bitter or better. And that choice, repeated daily, builds momentum. Momentum is powerful. Once it starts, it pulls opportunities toward you. People notice it. They feel it. They trust it. That's when your altitude begins to change, not overnight, but undeniably. A strong attitude also shapes how you speak to yourself. And self-talk matters more than motivation speeches or external encouragement. If your inner voice is full of doubt, fear, And excuses, no external success will ever feel enough. But when your attitude is rooted in belief and discipline, you begin to move with quiet confidence. You stop chasing validation and start building value. You understand that growth takes time, and you're willing to stay patient without losing intensity. Here's the hook most people miss: attitude works, even when nothing else is working. When the plan falls apart, when support disappears, when results are slow, your attitude keeps you moving. It's the fuel that doesn't depend on circumstances. That's why the most successful people aren't always the most talented. They're the most committed. They decided early that quitting was not an option and complaining was a waste of energy. When your attitude is right, effort feels purposeful. Discipline becomes natural. And success stops being a distant dream and starts becoming a direction. You don't rise because everything went right. You rise because your attitude refused to let anything stop you. Most people believe life changes when the situation changes, but the truth is life changes when you change how you respond. The same event can destroy one person and sharpen another, not because the event was different, but because the response was different. Life is constantly testing your reactions. It places pressure on you, delays your progress, and challenges your patience just to reveal what kind of mindset you're operating with. If you react emotionally, you lose control. If you respond intentionally, you gain direction. That difference alone can redirect the entire course of your life. Your response is power. It is the one thing no one can take from you. People may disappoint you, systems may fail you, and plans may fall apart. But how you respond remains your choice. That choice determines whether a moment becomes a setback or a setup. Too many people give away their power by reacting instead of responding. They allow frustration to speak, anger to decide, and fear to lead. And in doing so, they unknowingly lock themselves in the very situation they want to escape. Here's the hook most people never see coming. The problem is rarely the problem. The real issue is the reaction to the problem. When you lose control of your response, you multiply the damage. One negative reaction can cost you relationships, opportunities, and years of progress. But one disciplined response can protect your future. Learning to pause, to breathe, and to think before reacting is not weakness, it's mastery. And mastery is what separates leaders from followers. Every challenge is asking something of you. Not why is this happening, but who are you becoming because of this? When you respond with responsibility instead of blame, you take ownership of your growth. Blame feels good in the moment, but it steals momentum. Responsibility feels heavy at first, but it builds strength. The moment you stop pointing fingers and start adjusting your approach, you step into a higher level of control. Your response also shapes how others see you. People trust those who remain steady under pressure. They follow those who don't panic when things go wrong. When you respond with clarity instead of chaos, you become someone others rely on. That trust creates influence, and influence creates opportunity. This is how elevation happens, quietly, without announcements or shortcuts. There will be moments when responding the right way feels unfair, when staying calm feels like losing, when choosing discipline feels harder than giving in to emotion. But growth is not about what feels good. It's about what builds you. Emotional reactions may release pressure, but intentional responses build character. And character is what sustains success long after motivation fades. The strongest people are not those who avoid problems, but those who handle them with control. They understand that every response is a vote for the person they are becoming. Over time, those votes add up. Small, disciplined responses turn into habits. Habits turn into identity. And identity determines altitude. When you learn to control your response, you stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the architect of your future. A negative attitude doesn't just slow you down. It quietly repels the very opportunities you're asking life for. Before people hear your qualifications, they feel your energy. Before they trust your words, they sense your mindset. Every room you walk into responds to what you carry, not what you claim. When your attitude is heavy with complaints, doubt, and entitlement, opportunities don't disappear dramatically. They simply stop moving toward you. And most people never realize why things feel stuck. They keep working harder, but they keep showing up the same. Here's the uncomfortable truth: people don't follow excuses, they follow energy. Energy is contagious. When you operate with belief, discipline, and purpose, it shows in your posture, your tone, and your consistency. That kind of presence attracts attention without demanding it. On the other hand, negativity drains momentum. It turns conversations into burdens and possibilities into problems. Over time, people stop offering chances, not because you lack ability, but because your attitude makes progress feel exhausting. Opportunities are sensitive to mindset. They require readiness, not resentment. A negative attitude signals resistance. Resistance to learning, to feedback, to growth. And when growth shows up disguised as correction or challenge, negativity rejects it. That's why some people miss life, changing chances, and don't even recognize them as chances. They see inconvenience instead of invitation. They see criticism instead of coaching. Their attitude filters out the very tools that could elevate them. The hook most people overlook is this opportunity often arrives quietly. It doesn't always announce itself as success. Sometimes it shows up as extra responsibility, uncomfortable conversations, or unpaid effort. If your attitude is fixed on comfort, you'll miss it. But when your attitude is focused on development, you recognize opportunity even when it doesn't look glamorous. That awareness alone can separate you from the crowd. A strong attitude also shapes how people invest in you. Mentors, leaders, and decision makers look for reliability before brilliance. They look for people who bring solutions, not just observations. When you consistently show up with a positive, proactive mindset, you communicate one powerful message, you can be trusted with more. And trust is the currency of advancement. It opens doors that talent alone cannot unlock. Negativity has a cost, and it's often paid silently. It costs you support. It costs you momentum. It costs you growth. But belief has a return. When you choose optimism without denial, discipline without bitterness, and purpose without entitlement, you create an environment where opportunity can breathe. You don't have to chase every door. Some will open simply because your attitude made it safe for them too. The most successful people understand that attitude is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to bring your best even when things aren't. It's about controlling the atmosphere instead of being controlled by it. When you shift from complaining to creating, from doubting to doing, you become magnetic. And once your attitude changes, opportunities stop feeling rare and start feeling earned. Your past may explain where you've been, but it does not get to decide where you're going. Too many people hand the steering wheel of their future to memories they can't change. They replay old failures, old wounds, old disappointments, and then wonder why they can't move forward. The truth is, the past only has the power you give it. And attitude is the line that separates learning from limitation. When you allow yesterday to become an excuse, you quietly give up control of tomorrow. Here's the hook most people never recognize: the past is not your enemy. Your interpretation of it is. Every experience you've lived through carries information, not a sentence. But if your attitude turns experience into identity, growth stops. You are not what happened to you. You are what you decide to do with it. The moment you stop asking, why did this happen to me, and start asking, what did this teach me, your altitude begins to shift. A strong attitude reframes history. Instead of seeing failure as proof you're not capable, you see it as evidence that you tried. Instead of seeing rejection as confirmation you're not enough, you see it as redirection. This shift doesn't erase pain, but it transforms it into fuel. And fuel is powerful. It moves you forward instead of holding you back. Without that shift, even success can feel fragile because you're still trying to outrun who you used to be instead of building who you're becoming. Many people say they want a better future, but they keep negotiating with their past. They let old mistakes define their confidence. They let former losses dictate new decisions. That's not humility, that's hesitation. And hesitation costs time. Your attitude is the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. But a bridge only works if you're willing to step onto it. Carrying regret, bitterness, or shame across that bridge only makes the journey heavier than it needs to be. What elevates people is not a perfect background, but a disciplined mindset. When your attitude is rooted in responsibility instead of resentment, you stop waiting for permission to grow. You accept that what happened may not have been your fault. But healing and progress are your responsibility. That realization is uncomfortable, but it's also freeing, because once responsibility is accepted, power is restored. There's also a quiet confidence that comes when you stop explaining your past and start executing your future. You don't need to justify your vision with your history. Growth doesn't require approval from who you used to be. When your attitude shifts from defending old chapters to writing new ones, your energy changes. People feel it. Opportunities respond to it. You begin to move with intention instead of hesitation. The past can either be a prison or a classroom. Attitude decides which one it becomes. When you choose to extract wisdom instead of reliving wounds, momentum returns. Forward motion doesn't come from forgetting the past. It comes from refusing to live there. And the higher you aim to go, the lighter you must travel. Letting go of what was is not denial. it's preparation. Most people wait to feel motivated before they take action, not realizing that motivation is unreliable and inconsistent. It comes and goes based on mood, comfort, and circumstance. If your progress depends on how inspired you feel, your growth will always be unstable. The people who reach higher levels in life don't wait for motivation. They operate from discipline. And discipline is not an emotion. It's an attitude. It's a decision to show up even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Here's the hook that changes everything. The days that shape your future the most are the days you least feel like trying. Anyone can perform when energy is high and results come easy. But elevation happens on the ordinary days, the heavy days, the days when effort feels invisible. Discipline turns those days into deposits. Small, consistent actions may not feel powerful in the moment, but over time they compound into undeniable progress. A disciplined attitude removes negotiation from your life. You stop debating with yourself about whether to act. You don't ask, do I feel like it today? You ask, what needs to be done? That shift alone creates momentum. When action becomes routine, instead of optional, excellence becomes natural. This is why discipline outlasts motivation. Motivation excites you, but discipline carries you. Consistency is where identity is built. What you repeatedly do becomes who you are, and who you are determines what you attract. When your attitude is consistent, your environment starts adjusting to you. People trust your word. Opportunities align with your reliability. You become someone others can count on, not because you're perfect, but because you're present. That kind of dependability is rare, and rarity creates value. There will be moments when discipline feels lonely. When others are resting, you're refining. When others are quitting, you're continuing. This is where most people fall off, not because the work is too hard, but because the reward is delayed. Discipline requires faith in results you cannot yet see. It demands patience without reassurance. But this is also where separation happens. The gap between average and exceptional is not talent, it's tolerance for consistency. A disciplined attitude also strengthens your self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, confidence grows. Not the loud kind, but the quiet kind that doesn't need validation. You begin to trust yourself, and self-trust is powerful. It allows you to take bigger risks, aim higher, and stay steady under pressure. When you trust yourself, you don't panic at setbacks because you know you'll respond with effort, not excuses. The truth is, discipline doesn't limit freedom, it creates it. When your habits are strong, your choices expand. When your attitude is committed, your results multiply. Motivation may start the journey, but discipline determines how far you go. And the further you go, the clearer it becomes that success was never about feeling ready. It was about being willing to show up again and again. Most people wait to feel motivated before they take action, not realizing that motivation is unreliable and inconsistent. It comes and goes based on mood, comfort, and circumstance. If your progress depends on how inspired you feel, your growth will always be unstable. The people who reach higher levels in life don't wait for motivation. They operate from discipline. And discipline is not an emotion. It's an attitude. It's a decision to show up even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Here's the hook that changes everything. The days that shape your future the most are the days you least feel like trying. Anyone can perform when energy is high and results come easy. But elevation happens on the ordinary days, the heavy days, the days when effort feels invisible. Discipline turns those days into deposits. Small, consistent actions may not feel powerful in the moment, but over time they compound into undeniable progress. A disciplined attitude removes negotiation from your life. You stop debating with yourself about whether to act. You don't ask, do I feel like it today? You ask, what needs to be done? That shift alone creates momentum. When action becomes routine, instead of optional, excellence becomes natural. This is why discipline outlasts motivation. Motivation excites you, but discipline carries you. Consistency is where identity is built. What you repeatedly do becomes who you are, and who you are determines what you attract. When your attitude is consistent, your environment starts adjusting to you. People trust your word. Opportunities align with your reliability. You become someone others can count on, not because you're perfect, but because you're present. That kind of dependability is rare, and rarity creates value. There will be moments when discipline feels lonely. When others are resting, you're refining. When others are quitting, you're continuing. This is where most people fall off, not because the work is too hard, but because the reward is delayed. Discipline requires faith in results you cannot yet see. It demands patience without reassurance. But this is also where separation happens. The gap between average and exceptional is not talent, it's tolerance for consistency. A disciplined attitude also strengthens your self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, confidence grows. Not the loud kind, but the quiet kind that doesn't need validation. You begin to trust yourself. And self-trust is powerful. It allows you to take bigger risks, aim higher, and stay steady under pressure. When you trust yourself, you don't panic at setbacks because you know you'll respond with effort, not excuses. The truth is, discipline doesn't limit freedom, it creates it. When your habits are strong, your choices expand. When your attitude is committed, your results multiply. Motivation may start the journey, but discipline determines how far you go. And the further you go, the clearer it becomes that sex was never about feeling ready, it was about being willing to show up again and again. When you fix your mindset, your altitude begins to change almost automatically, not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you stop shrinking in the face of pressure. Most people are not limited by their circumstances. They are limited by how they think about those circumstances. The ceiling they feel above them is often self-installed. And the moment your thinking expands, your world starts responding differently. You walk differently. You speak differently. You make decisions with clarity instead of fear. Here's the hook that many people miss: success doesn't respond to potential, it responds to posture. The way you carry yourself mentally and emotionally sends a signal. When your mindset is strong, you don't chase validation, you attract respect. You don't beg for opportunities, you prepare for them. Preparation sharpens confidence, and confidence changes how others perceive you long before results appear. A higher mindset demands higher standards. You stop tolerating habits that pull you down and relationships that drain your focus, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. When your attitude is elevated, distractions lose their grip. You become intentional with your time, your energy, and your environment. This discipline is not restrictive, it's refining. It removes noise so your purpose can speak clearly. Language plays a powerful role in mindset. The way you talk to yourself and about yourself shapes your limits. When your words are weak, your actions follow. But when you speak with belief and precision, your mind begins to obey. This isn't about empty positivity. It's about honest conviction. You acknowledge challenges without surrendering to them. You name the obstacle, then name your ability to overcome it. That balance creates resilience. A fixed mindset waits for permission. A growth mindset moves with intention. When your thinking evolves, you stop asking for approval and start taking responsibility. Responsibility is heavy, but it's also empowering. It means your progress is no longer dependent on circumstances lining up perfectly. You move forward because you've decided to. And that decision, repeated consistently, reshapes your trajectory. The people who rise the highest are not those who never doubt, but those who don't let doubt drive. They feel fear, but they act anyway. They experience uncertainty, but they stay committed. Their mindset doesn't eliminate obstacles. It equips them to navigate them. Over time, this creates composure, and composure under pressure is rare. It draws trust, leadership, and opportunity. When your mindset is fixed on growth, your actions align with excellence. You don't rush the process, but you don't waste it either. You understand that elevation is gradual, but intentional. Every choice becomes a step. Every setback becomes feedback. And every day becomes a chance to think a little higher than the day before. So as I close, I want you to remember this. You don't need more resources, more